I'll start by saying I never thought I'd write this down, let alone share it. But after our 10-year high school reunion, I figured some stories are just too poetic not to tell. Back in high school, I was the quiet kid, the kind who always had a book in his backpack and wore off-brand sneakers. Because mom was raising me and my sister alone, I wasn't ugly or weird, just forgettable, which is usually a good way to avoid attention. But not if he decided otherwise. His name was Brad Carter, tall, loud quarterback of the football team. He had that swagger like he owned the halls, and maybe in a way he did. Teachers doted on him, girls swooned, and if you weren't in his circle, you were a target. I don't know what I did to get on Brad's radar. Maybe it was because I didn't fight back, or maybe he just needed someone to punch down at. Whatever the reason, he made my high school years hell. A locker slammed shut with my homework inside. Brad. Trip in the cafeteria while carrying a tray. Brad. Accidentally knocked over my science project during class presentations. Brad again. But the worst part wasn't the pranks. It was the way he'd do it, all with that smug smile and get everyone laughing like I was some kind of joke. People laughed because they were scared of being next. I get it now. The summer after graduation, I didn't go to college right away. I worked at a hardware store while taking night classes. Slowly, things started turning around. I got into tech, cybersecurity of all things, and landed a good remote job before that became the norm. I also started lifting, nothing crazy, just something to keep my head clear. Funny how consistent effort adds up over the years. By 2023, I had a decent little life going, married to someone who made me laugh every day, 2 kids who think I'm the strongest guy alive, and a job that lets me work from home and still afford summer vacations. So when the invitation came in the mail for our 10-year reunion, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go. My wife encouraged me. It's not about them, she said. It's about seeing how far you've come. So I went. Same gymnasium, same streamers, same cheesy playlist from 2010. A few teachers I recognized, some old faces, some smiles. And then there was Brad. But this wasn't the Brad I remembered. He'd put on weight, a lot of it. But that wasn't what struck me. It was his posture. The guy who used to talk like he owned the world now slouched like someone hoping not to be noticed. We ended up near each other by the punch table. I gave him a nod, not cold, not friendly, just acknowledgement. He looked at me like he recognized me and didn't all at once. Then awkwardly he asked, "Hey, Dave, right?" I just smiled and said, "Yeah, it's David now." "Oh, cool. There was this pause and then out of nowhere he blurted out, "Man, I was such an asshole in high school." Caught me off guard. I raised an eyebrow. He laughed nervously. "No, really, like, I've thought about it a lot. I don't even know why I did half the stuff I did. I was just angry, I guess. My dad was a piece of work. Took it out on other people." I didn't know what to say to that. He kept talking, almost like he'd been waiting years for someone to listen. Told me he'd tried to play college ball, but a knee injury ended that fast. Then a DUI at 22. Divorced. 2 kids he doesn't get to see much. Now he works night stocking shelves. "I peaked at 17, he said quietly. That's the sad part. I didn't gloat. I didn't say anything petty. I just nodded and said, "We all figure it out eventually." And maybe that was enough. Later that night, people asked me what I did, and when I said cybersecurity, I could see their faces light up. It wasn't about showing off, it just felt good to be respected for once. When we were getting ready to leave, I saw Brad sitting alone at the table, staring at the floor. I walked over, not for him, for me. Take care of yourself, Brad, I said. He looked up surprised. You too, man. On the way home, I held my wife's hand while she asked how it went. Good, I said after a moment. Weird, but good. And I meant it, because sometimes karma doesn't come crashing down like a thunderbolt. Sometimes it just sits quietly across a high school gym, drinking flat punch, reminding you that time reveals all things, especially character. I've never been the kind of guy who thought of himself as a victim. Maybe that's why I stayed so long. Her name was Jessica Lane. Everyone knew her. Bright smile, sharp tongue, loud laugh. The kind of girl who knew how to walk into a room and make you feel like the spotlight was on her and you were lucky to be near it. I met her in my first year at Wright State University. I was majoring in business, working part-time at a car wash. She was a communications major who could charm a professor and tear a classmate down in the same breath. Somehow, she took an interest in me. Quiet, awkward, not exactly her type. And man, when she was good to me, she was great. It was like being picked out of a crowd by a celebrity. But the good never lasted. In hindsight, she didn't date me because she loved me. She dated me because she could control me. It started small, teasing comments about my clothes, how I walked, how I laughed. Babe, I'm just trying to help you not to be embarrassing. That sort of thing. Then it became more pointed. She'd call me stupid in front of friends, talk about how I'd never make anything of myself if I didn't man up. She'd flirt with other guys and then gaslight me for being insecure. I remember one night, this one still stings. We were at a party. Someone asked her how long we'd been together. She laughed and said, 3 years too long. Everyone laughed with her. And I just stood there with a red Solo cup in my hand, trying to laugh along like it didn't hurt. I wasn't allowed to work out, she called it narcissistic. Couldn't hang with certain friends, they didn't like her, and that meant they were toxic. And every time I thought about leaving, she'd reel me back in with fake vulnerability. You're the only one who really gets me, Eric. You know I had a hard childhood. I'm trying to be better. Stay with me, please. So I stayed for 3 years, until I couldn't. March 2016. I packed a bag and left while she was out. No big fight, no screaming match. I just couldn't keep setting myself on fire to keep her warm. I moved in with my cousin, started therapy, and slowly picked myself back up. At first I just wanted to survive, but something happened during that survival phase. I found myself again. Started going to the gym regularly, not out of vanity but to rebuild what she tried to destroy. Took a few years, but I landed a solid job in IT, met a woman who treated me with the kind of kindness that doesn't have conditions stapled to it. And now I've got a 2-year-old daughter who thinks I'm a superhero every time I make her pancakes. Then came 2021. My friend Aaron texted me, "Bro, you seen Jessica's Facebook lately? Yikes." I hadn't thought about her in years. Curiosity got the best of me. I looked. She looked worn, not in the physical sense, though the party lifestyle had clearly left its mark, but in her eyes. That shine, that smugness, it was gone. A few public posts showed she'd been in and out of jobs, tried to become an influencer, didn't take. Had a messy breakup with a guy who, according to the comments, cheated on her with her roommate. Her caption on the post, "Funny how the people who said they'd never hurt you always do the worst damage." And I sat there, reading that, remembering the countless nights I'd curled up in bed next to her feeling worthless, and realized I felt nothing. Not anger, not glee, just peace. She used to be the storm I thought I'd drown in, but I didn't drown. I learned to swim. Now I wake up next to someone who loves me gently. I lift weights 3 times a week, walk my daughter to preschool every morning, and know deep down that I got the life I earned. Jessica, she got hers too. And if that's not karma, I don't know what is. If someone had pulled me aside back in 2015, back when I was living out of a cheap motel and nursing hangovers with warm beer and cold crackers, and said, "Hey Mike, in 10 years you'll be married, a dad, sober, and owning your own house," I would have laughed. Not just laughed, scoffed bitterly. Because back then I was convinced that kind of life was for other people. People with direction. People who didn't screw up every decent hand they'd ever been dealt. But it happened. And if it happened for me, maybe it can happen for someone else. That's why I'm telling this. I'm Michael Carter, born in 1990, raised in a working class neighborhood in Cincinnati. Life wasn't easy, but it wasn't bad either. My dad was a drywall guy, tough as nails, quiet, the kind of guy who only spoke when it mattered. My mom cleaned office buildings at night and spent her days raising me and my little brother Jamie. We didn't have much, but we had each other, and that was enough, at least until things started to unravel. When I was 20, right after finishing trade school, my mom got sick, ovarian cancer. At first the doctors gave us hope, said it was early, but within 6 months, she was gone, just like that. My dad crumbled in a way I never thought possible. He started drinking heavy, and I followed. I told myself I was just taking the edge off, just trying to sleep, but soon it was every night, then every afternoon, then it was lunch with whiskey, breakfast with beer. From 2010 to 2017, my life was a slow motion collapse. At first I still held on to work, carpentry gigs, demo work. I was good with my hands, and when I showed up people liked me. But the problem was, I didn't show up. Not consistently. I'd be there for 2 weeks, then miss a Monday, then a Friday. Then I'd get into it with someone or show up buzzed. Or just disappear. Jobs stopped calling back. I moved from my apartment to a shared room, then from that to a motel off Route 42 that smelled like bleach and desperation. $40 a night, roaches in the mini fridge. There were nights, long terrible nights, where I'd sit on that crusty motel floor with the lights off, chain smoking and watching static on the TV, thinking, this can't be it, can it? But the truth was, I didn't believe I deserved better. The turning point came one morning in late 2017. I'd been on a bender, cheap vodka, gas station beer, maybe 2 days without food. I woke up, or maybe came to, on the bathroom floor of the motel, cheeks stuck to the tile. My hands were shaking. I looked in the mirror. My eyes were sunken. My skin was grey, and I had a deep cut under one eye from where I'd apparently fallen. And for some reason, call it grace, call it God, I don't know, I suddenly thought, I'm not supposed to die like this. I grabbed my flip phone and called the one person who had always offered help, even when I didn't deserve it, my cousin Daniel. We hadn't talked in over 2 years. When he answered, all I said was, I need help, please. He didn't lecture me, didn't yell, just said, text me the address. That same afternoon, he picked me up. He let me sleep on his couch on one condition. I got sober and stayed sober. I agreed, and for the first time in years, I meant it. The first 90 days were brutal. Withdrawal, night sweats, shaking. I went to an AA meeting every single day. Some days I didn't talk, just sat there and listened. Other days I poured my guts out, crying in front of strangers like a man with no dignity left. And maybe I didn't have any, but it didn't matter. Those people in that basement didn't judge me. They understood me. I started to see a therapist, started journaling, started eating actual food again, not just dollar store ramen. Daniel helped me get a job with a small home renovation company, just holding scrap and sweeping at first, but the owner, a guy named Russ, saw something in me. He gave me more responsibility as I showed up sober, on time, and hungry to work. By mid-2018, I had some money saved, got a small one-bedroom apartment, and started working out at a gym down the street. At first it was just about keeping myself busy, but lifting became therapy. Pushing weight made me feel strong again, feel human again. That gym is where I met Samantha. She worked the smoothie bar, always smiling, always offering a little extra protein in my drink when she knew I was having a hard day. We started talking, then we started walking, then dating. She never asked me to be perfect, just honest. I told her everything, the drinking, the motel, the shame. She didn't flinch. In 2020, we got married in a small backyard ceremony. No fancy tuxes, just vows, family, and the sound of laughter I'd forgotten existed. In 2022, our daughter Emily was born. Holding her, I understood for the first time what my mom must have felt for me. That fierce, unconditional love. That everything is going to be okay because I'm here kind of love. In 2023, I bought a small fixer-upper on the west side. 3 bedrooms, a backyard, a squeaky porch swing I built with my own hands. Now it's 2025. I'm 35 years old. I've been sober for almost 8 years. I wake up at 5 a.m. every day, gym by 6, home by 7 to make breakfast for Samantha and Emily. Then it's off to work. Now as a supervisor at Russ's company, I've trained 5 guys who were just like I was, lost, angry and desperate for a second chance. I still keep a picture of that motel room in the folder on my phone, not to punish myself, but to remember. Because that's where I stopped dying. That's where I started living. So yeah, I was broken for a long time, but I didn't stay that way. I rebuilt myself, brick by brick, day by day. And now I'm a husband, a father, a man who came back from nothing and built something real. And if I can do it, maybe you can too.